So we're on a hot standby today. We're having a nice, awesome, open conversation. The reason we're having an open conversation today on the FileMaker awesome training platform. Whoop! I just said the F word, another $1. Wait a minute, I just put $100. Those of you who are not familiar with this, have never seen this before, this is the swear jar. You think you know what the F stands for. It's not just the F word. It's also, if you say the word FileMaker or fork, you have to put $1 in the swear jar. The swear jar is actually getting kind of rich. There's a lot of money in there. So welcome to Friday. That's a legal F word, you can say. And we are happy to have you here at fmtrain.tv. I'm going to press the button right here. I'm going to slide this over here. This is an upcoming broadcast schedule. Today's open Q&A day on on the Claris platform versus the FileMaker platform. And what does that mean? It's open Q&A, so it's going to be an awful quiet conversation if none of you have any questions. I do have a little bit of news, not a ton of news, but a little bit of news. And then Monday is Execute SQL, which is the anti-Nick. So it's like Nick's kryptonite is Calvin's SQL. So Nick's kryptonite will be Monday, October 3rd. Then Tuesday, October 4th will be UI, UX, advanced, whatever Nick's doing. He's going to try to do some hardcore principle guidelines for fundamental FileMaker, right? I guess, or Claris. And then Monday next week, Friday next week is going to be another open Q&A. So every Friday we're going to have open Q&A on the Claris platform and FileMaker platform. Any relevant news, we will try to present that to you. But there's just a lot of questions. Like a lot of people are just showing up going, what? There's a Claris platform? I mean, my sales guy still calls them FileMaker Inc. I had to send him a note about that yesterday. It's like, hey, Ryan, if the company has been called FileMaker Inc. since 2019. Right, well, today is open Q&A, so let me dive into that real quick. And as a reminder, if you want to support the channel, for those of you who are into supporting the channel, you go to fmtraining.tv, as you can see up here at the top. Highly recommend that you purchase a bundle. We do greatly appreciate. It's how I pay the bills to keep all these nice folks here coming here. In case you're wondering, Nick doesn't volunteer his time for free, right? So so I have to pay him, and so that's where the money comes from him if you purchase one of our training bundles, which is really awesome. Real quick, so this was passed to me today. And it's pretty solid. Beverly Voth is someone who's supposed to be retired by now, but she's still doing stuff in the world of FileMaker. And she posted a link that she's been doing FileMaker like a billion years, and like I have. And so what she's done is did kind of like the current state of the Claris studio, right? And for those of you, we've demoed this before. I can demo it if you want to see it. The short version of it is that what Claris is creating, and I have this right here, but I guess I'm gonna kind of, today's the open Q&A thing, right? What's important to understand, if I jump ahead in the slideshow here, I'm gonna kind of retrace these steps briefly here, okay? The world that we've been living in, the world that most of us use, is using the FileMaker platform. Simply powerful software was the tagline, the motto. It's probably still their best trademark term that, it's FileMaker Incorporated, Simply Powerful Software. Now it's Claris International, and it should be Simply Powerful Software, but it used to be the Workplace Innovation Platform. It always changes, right? So Simply Powerful Software. Claris is got a lot of power. There's probably more power they could add to it, but generally at the end of the day, Claris is not really trying to add more power, right, to the product. What they're trying to do is bring back the simply part. And it's kind of an interesting conversation because you could misinterpret this the wrong way, and I want to get into this briefly because I ran into an engineer who's like, he's in a complete panic. Actually, a former engineer of RCC who went off on his merry way and then went off his merry way, and he keeps bouncing from place to place to place. And so the idea with the slides, if I move myself, I'm going to do Richard reduction. There we go, less Richard. Less Richard, higher happiness. There we go. Awesome. So we have this slideshow right here. The idea was that we got plenty of powerful software. The idea was that the powerful, we all play with it all the time, even the SQL stuff that makes it more powerful. The simply part is the part that's been languishing for a number of years. And Claris has decided to address that with Claris Studio and Claris Connect. Claris Studio is basically this kind of for a lack of a better way of saying it, it's kind of this Airtable-ish FileMaker experience. And of course, if I was a Claris employee, I wouldn't be allowed to say the A word, but I'm going to say this to you. Kind of an Airtable non-developer experience. You kind of drag and drop and throw some stuff together, and out comes this kind of semi-useful, very lightweight solution. The benefit is that as you build something very lightweight with this, it also can talk to FileMaker really great in a very loose sort of way. Claris FileMaker, you can talk to Claris FileMaker. So the Clara Studio is where you can build a web page. You can do some, when I say web page, I'm talking about a registration form at the current time where you register for some information. You can submit information on it. It's what I would not consider ready for prime time, but it is showing remarkable progress and getting better, okay? So Clara Studio is this kind of end user simplicity thing. Claris Connect is basically API connectivity for end users who don't know anything. I think there's only so far though we'll ever be able to get with this. So like Claris Connect would theoretically allow you to drag and drop between FileMaker and Slack. And if something happens in FileMaker, it runs a script and it notifies Slack. Slack's pretty easy. SMS messaging is generally pretty easy. Those aren't complex. But there's things like PayPal and QuickBooks that you're never going to be able to drag and drop for because you have to know how money works, not just like 1 + 1 is 2 or 3 in case of the frog people. But but the idea is that how QuickBooks calculates taxes, how subtotals are calculated. Some of these financial systems work a little different and maybe not as intuitive as you think they are. An average end user, power user, is never going to be able to connect QuickBooks ever. In what I see right now to FileMaker or any other data system. It's not a drag and drop integration when you're dealing with money. If you're doing SMS messaging, you're doing drag and drop and shoot someone an SMS message, pretty straightforward. So that's what Clara Studio is supposed to be. So these are both, the idea is that these are the tractor beams. These are the Airtable-ish kind of stuff that the brand new people in the world of FileMaker are going to get. So in an ideal world, they would download something like our FM starting point, which is, if I press the button here, it's a website, it's a free CRM. You download the free CRM, you get it running. Then you maybe make a little registration page so people can ask for more information, whatever, you give it to your website. And then that Clara Studio data feeds into your CRM automatically. That would be something an end user could do. Technically, they could kind of do it right now, but once again, Clara Studio isn't ready for prime time. But the idea is that that's why you have this CAPTCHA stuff, right? So if you try to log in someplace, it says, please select all the vertically challenged individuals who are disgruntled. And so you'd have to have a picture and you pick all the vertically challenged people who are disgruntled and you select that stuff. And ideally, the robot can't identify it and spam you, okay? That has to be anytime you have a public facing web interface, that has to be there. It's not in here yet. It has to be in here. So these are technologies that are coming. If you want to read about Clara Studio, we've demoed it. We demoed it 2 or 3 weeks ago. You can go through and read that. It's a link on the web page right here. Beverly Vaught did a really nice job of walking through it. So it kind of shows you can make some really basic charts. It's really kind of neat. It's a little bit easier in FileMaker in some ways. There's this video talking about hubs. Hubs is a new concept. It's a grouping. The problem is that we have to be able to apply security to the hubs and things like that potentially. And I don't think that there's been a conversation about security in hubs yet. And so anytime you really can't with finesse control the security onto a hub, and who can see it, then I don't, so anyway, I get nervous. I don't want to go to a customer meeting and have to say, oh, I don't know, or I don't know how, or it's not in there. And mostly right now it's not in there. So there are, at this point in time, if I move forward here, Claris has forked the platform into 2 sides. And I'm just going to play this part of it right here so you can all see this. So if I hit the button, you can see that the reason that they just didn't upgrade the platform is that by them introducing connectivity with Claris Connect and Clara Studio, they're using the Claris ID. The Claris ID is an online authentication. It's like, would you like to authenticate with Google? You always see this on your website. Go to Pinterest, go to anywhere. Can you cross authenticate or OAuth authenticate with Google, even with Facebook, which seems weird to me because I don't trust Facebook as far as I can throw it, or some other services. And so what Claris did is that they forked the platform. Once again, you'll see that right here. And they copy the files over And initially the files, of course, have to have the same name. They're identical, but they rename it. So then we have these two platforms, right? And once again, as we go through all this, Claris changed the file format. So the products over here don't communicate with the products over here and vice versa. This is a huge issue, a huge thing that everyone should understand. These don't talk to this doesn't talk to that. You can migrate the files from FMP12 forward over here if you want at the current time. I'm surprised someone hasn't figured this out yet. There's no like winding it backwards. And the rub is over here, and then I'm going to get to questions over here. This seems to be, people come to this conversation and they're confused. So I'm going to cover the critical parts. Two file formats, two nearly identical platforms. If I fire up Claris Pro right now and I fire up FileMaker Pro, you can't tell the difference between the two except in the security dialog area where you say manage security. It's slightly different. So what they did is they put Claris Studio over here, Claris Connect. To work with this over here, you have to authenticate with Claris ID. It's an important part of this. And so that's what would break some of the items over here. And so eventually what they're going to do at some point, and I sent Brad Freitag, CEO of Claris, an email about this. And he's like, oh yeah, we should talk to developers about this. I'm like, okay. So at some point we will hear from them from that. So then what happens is we remind you that you can't, the two sides don't talk to each other. Okay, very, very important. And there are limitations. So over on the FileMaker side, we already know what the limitations are. We've been doing this for a lot of years. They're known commodity, okay? On the Claris side, on the nearly identical side, because you have to authenticate with Claris ID, there's no offline access. There's currently no Active Directory or OAuth, which is a showstopper for me. There's no ODBC or JDBC, which means that suddenly you can't do offline synchronization with like MirrorSync and products like that. And the plugin developers need to update their products. There's some important things over here that need to be done. All these items over here are supposed to be remediated over the X number of months. Claris' intent to fix them or address them, right? I'm trying to get it. Oh, there it goes. So it's starting to go now. So you'll see these things slowly fix over here. What doesn't get fixed, oh, see, that's incorrect right there.
You gotta fix your animation.
I gotta fix that. That is wrong. That is way, hang on. That is way wrong. Let me fix
one of those is wrong.
One of these is wrong. That one's wrong.
One of those,
yep. The plan at the current time is to remediate all the critical items except the on-server premise, which is, so FileMaker Server over here is called Claris Server over here. It shouldn't be called Claris FileMaker Server over here. I verified this with Claris. Anytime you see the word Claris FileMaker, it is a loose statement that is really incorrect. It's Claris trying not to confuse you, but really it's the FileMaker side or the Claris side, and the two ain't the same. But over here, FileMaker Server is Mac, Windows, and Linux. On the left side is only going to be for the Claris server. We could demo this today. We have the on-prem. It's only going to be the Linux only, right? Makes sense? David White. Okay, so I'm going to slide into David White's question from YouTube. I think. Let me just read it. Wrong. Okay, so back up. So remember what I said briefly about this whole idea that they have these, they're trying to bring the simplicity into the product, right? Powerful capability, simple implementation, right? Studio Claris Connect is capabilities that are labor intensive in FileMaker, but they should be drag and drop. Once again, QuickBooks never going to be there because fundamentally that's like saying, I want to be an astronaut and I'm not going to go to training, right? Just put me in a space shuttle, put on a suit on me, and I'll breathe. As long as I don't have to push a button as an astronaut, it's all automatic. I don't have to learn anything. That's great. Okay. When you do QuickBooks, it's like becoming an astronaut. You got to learn a lot of stuff, right? Integration with FileMaker, doing QuickBooks on your own. There's a lot of moving pieces there with that. So some things will never be drag and drop. Once again, there'll be some things, some API integrations that are drag and drop. So this is the API connectivity. This is the web interface builder. So David Angel just asked a question, and I had this other engineer. Both had the same concern. The engineer comes to me and goes, oh my God, I'm going to quit FileMaker. And he left the platform, and he's working, doing some JavaScript, some other stuff, partially because he likes doing that. And he maybe sees this video. He'll know I'm talking about him. But partly it's something new he gets to play with, but partly he was worried like, well, they're going to make FileMaker so simple that there won't be any jobs for developers anymore, okay? That has been a repeated concern since 1912, and there was the Pony Express and the first version of FileMaker. The guy was on a horse delivering the mail. It was no electricity, no internet, but he had FileMaker 1.0. Okay, and he's like, well, if we put in card-style windows, there will never be anything we could do as a developer. Or if they do make the wizard thing, right? It's like, here we go. So here's an example. This is this kind of conversation. So let's go over to FileMaker. Real quick, I'm going to open up 1953. I'm going to say create a new file. I pay attention to this briefly for you wondering about this. Just trust me on this. I'm going to start a blank file. I'm going to save it on the desktop. It's called Untitled. It's got my standard fields in it right here. And what I'm going to do is Claris built this feature, and everyone had the same response. They built this like wizard. It was supposed to be Claris's answer to the Microsoft paperclip, Clippy. Hey. Clippy, this is like the modern Clippy right here. You know, it's like, hey, would you like help building a relationship with a field and a merge table? Ah! Right? And you're like, yeah, give me some help with that. So we go layout mode. Here we're in layout mode. I'm going to say new layout. And people see this all the time. This was called the wizard, a wizard, right? So I'm going to make a layout for a touch device. I'm just going to work on an iPad. And I'm going to have a form view. And then I'm going to say finish. And then I'm going to drag some fields on here. And then I'm going to do an add-on. I'm going to do an add-on. How do I add an add-on? Where's the add-on? Let me add an add-on. How do I add an add-on? I want to add a barcode generator or something. Calendar. I'll do a calendar. Then I add a calendar, right? Choose, add the calendar, okay? Calendar's over there, drag it over here. And so because this has been built in there and I've dragged and dropped the calendar on here, okay, then all the developers out there like, I don't have a job anymore. My job is going out. People just replaced me, okay? The solution you have right here is marginally worthless, to be clear, what I just built. Or is anyone out of business? Is any calendar company out of business? Have we called John Sindelar on the hotline and said, John Sindelar, are your calendar business out of business? Well, no. Why? Well, most people don't really how to know to integrate the calendar, and the calendar that Claris gave you, wink, 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 wink. Here's a clue. It's single user, single tenant. It doesn't do multi-user. It doesn't do multiple events. It doesn't do like room scheduling and stuff like that. It's a super great demo that doesn't do anything practical that a real business needs. It's like a stupid calendar. So then you say, well, let's download. So this caused a lot of developers to kind of lose sleep overnight because some of the developers were like, hey, Richard's got a free CRM, right? Right? So here's a free CRM. We're going to fire up the free CRM and we're going to be out of business, right? So is it admin no password? Is it admin, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4? Is that what it is?
Should be 1, 2,
Or is it
3, 4.
admin? There it is, admin. So we create them out with a free CRM. Oh my God, we're out of business because you built a CRM in our entire business. Listen, what Claris is building for you in the Claris Studio and Claris Connect allows the brand new power users to get further than before. They're still going to be like that Hurricane Ivan when you go, when the hurricane's done going by and there's a $12 million yacht high and dry a mile inland and they're stuck and they need to hire the professional boat people to drag the boat to the water and fix it. Okay. That's what you folks as developers do. We want people in the community to come to us and do stuff. We want them to actually find usefulness, return on investment. That's why the CRM is so great. They can use it, see value. Then they come back to the platform and I can't tell you, most of the people who get help with the CRM, they don't come to RCC. They go to the competing companies that compete with me. Seriously. And so talk about a gift to the community that keeps on giving. Trust me, that's FM starting point. So they get value with this. They drag and drop a couple things. They maybe, it already has the calendar built in here. By the way, a calendar that actually has multiple users and multiple categories, so it's already more powerful. Smoking. But what if you wanted a chart or a heat map? You drag it in there. So the basic user, the goal is to get them farther. Airtable forced Claris to decide that they couldn't ignore simple anymore. Claris doesn't really want the free people to come use FileMaker. At the end of the day, they really want people to give them money. I mean, actually, it's always misleading when people say, just come and use our free stuff. We love it. Only companies who don't actually make a profit say like that. Only companies who are not profitable is like one of the people that likes to email me. He goes the other day and goes, Richard, you should quit using FileMaker. You should use this other stuff, XYZ. And he's like, and I go, well, how big is this other company? He goes, well, it's valued at $28 bazillion. And I said, valued at. I said, wait. So they've actually never ever made money. Well, that part of the conversation, we're just going to leave that out. So it's a startup company that makes low-code software that has never actually turned a profit ever. And so then you look at FileMaker. Well, what is FileMaker? Well, FileMaker is a profitable company. Yes, it's been around for 33 years. Yes, and the most important fact about it, Apple operations, as Apple designs and produces iPhones and iPads and all the little devices and gizmos. And as they manage the stores, the Apple stores, and as they manage the services, about a quarter to a third of Apple, if not more, runs on FileMaker. So Apple owns FileMaker. They use it a lot, like a drug addict, right? And so if it suddenly went away, Apple couldn't ship and make products. I think it would completely paralyze the company probably for 24 months at least. Because operationally, if they took all their FileMaker servers and just zeroed them out, right? Apple, it would trash the stock value. The company would cartwheel into the water. So that's my marginal tirade right now. Is there a certification for Claris Studio and Claris Connect? There is no certification right now, except, ready for this? The only certification you can get right now is for the FileMaker platform. That's the only certification that exists. Someday there'll be a certification for this, kinda, but they're not going to really, are they going to really quiz you on what the brand new people can do with it?
Have they refurbed the certification? Because
No.
it was stuck to like version 19.1 or something last time.
No, it
so.
is. It still is. It's still so. Current certification is still 19.1. There are questions in the certification that are flagrantly incorrect. If you take what you know from 19.5 today, you will get the question wrong. There is no certification. Steve Romick was working on it back in May, but he said it'd be a while. I don't think they'll have a new certification. No idea. Maybe next year.
Technically, it only expires every 2 years.
Every 2 years. So they said so what I did is I said, well, let me take the test again to reset my clock. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And I said, well, then actually in December or January, my certification expires. I will no longer be certified. They have to do something by December or January. What are the best practices when upgrading FileMaker Server on AWS? So the question, Oregon Dean, slightly off topic, but I think we can take it. Mark, do we have any other more like grossly on topic questions?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Okay. So real quick, David Weiss, you understand that Claris builds new stuff to onboard new people. Freemium is free. They give it to everyone. It creates a bigger, diverse community, and that community needs services and will buy more product. You understand that's a good thing? And the minimum technical bar to build really bad software, you can get a long ways with starting point. It really drove a lot of our competitors bonkers when I did that, or I still do it. That being said, that I end up taking the bar up a very high level. So the engineer who quit and panicked about FileMaker thinking he had a job anymore. He obviously didn't talk to me, but whatever floats your boat. Moving along. So what is the best practice in upgrading from onto AWS? So can I ask Oregon Dean real quick, are you upgrading from an on-prem server to AWS, or you already have AWS and you're upgrading to AWS? Because those are two different questions, right? Do you have an answer for that? If you could respond to that, that would be really great. Then we can customize the answer. According to Mark Johnson, one of our awesome Marines, hey, welcome, Mark. Starting Point helped me learn FileMaker back in the day, Starting Point, and Matt Petrowski. Matt Petrowski is really sharp. Most of the time when I ever have a meeting with him, he's the smartest guy in the room, him or Chris Moyer. By far the smartest FileMaker people I know. So he's very, very, very sharp. So of course, if you ask him, hey, how do you generate a report with data here and data here? he's probably going to give you an answer that's only suitable for, let me just bring this up over here real quick. So this is the continuum of FileMaker experts real quick. This is business owners who are not technical. These are power users. A lot of you live in a gap between here and maybe over here somewhere, and you have to decide, not even so much 1 to 3 years, but I know people who have been in here for 20 years and they get that skill set and they just stop there, which is good, right? My skill set realistically hangs out over in here. A lot of times I learn bits and pieces in here, but I hang out in here. But if you ask Petrowski how to write a report, he's going to explain it like your experience is over here, right? Seriously. It's like, well, if you hook the warp drive flux capacitor with a uh, triple predicate key across relationship with the one checkbox disabled on Sunday with your left foot in the air, the report will generate this way. And it's like only Josh Ormond and other people like that can follow that conversation. And I love Josh. These guys are great. But once again, I have to make it more simple. So AWS to AWS. So if you have an old AWS FileMaker server and you want to upgrade to a new AWS FileMaker server, Jacob Taylor, do you want to address that if I stop sharing the screen?
Yes. Should I share my screen or just
share your screen? That, or we're going to stare at your face.
We can stare at my face. The short version is yes. He asked if we should kind of build a new server side by side with the existing one and transfer the data over. Generally speaking, that's correct. The conversation is bigger than that if the version numbers are, the version number difference is bigger.
Pretty wide.
We did a stream on long distance upgrades, I think I called it, where you're jumping from like 14 to 19 or something like that. Yeah, file format compatibility is maintained, but it's
that's
a chunk.
About it.
Yeah, it's a chunk. There's a lot to pay attention to. You need to have a proper, just to talk about the broader conversation, you need to have a proper accounting of all the different features that you use. And you have to sit down and think about what's changed in that time period so that you know where the risk is in your app. This is like inside FileMaker more than the server part. But it drives the server features because if you use ODBC, there's a conversation. If you have the PHP, like if you have PHP on your FileMaker server that talk to, say, an early version of the custom web publishing engine, generally speaking, that has continued to work. They stripped it in 19.5.3, I think, 19.5.2. One of those very recent releases, patches. It's not supported anymore. You can do it. You put the PHP somewhere else. You talk to the XML API on the FileMaker server, say across LAN or whatever, no problem. But that's not a directly supported thing from Claris any longer. So you have conversations like that. If you're closer in version, let's say you've been chilling on 19.2 on server, it's been fine, worked great for you, and you're like, I'm going to go up to 19.4, 19.5, something like that. It's a much shorter conversation, and you can pick, basically. That's still a couple of years old. I would still recommend building a new system, but it's not strictly required. Very, and I mean very new, current version FileMaker server. Yes.
Stop. So AWS, when you spin up a new server, does AWS send you a bill to buy new hardware for like $2,000 or $3,000?
No.
That's if someone sent you a bill for $2,000 or $3,000, that might be a reason you don't want to build a new server. AWS is renting it to you by the microsecond or whatever. Just build a new server.
Some accounting system.
Just build a new server. There's absolutely no excuse. Jacob is being really nice. There's absolutely no excuse on Amazon AWS to not build a new server.
Our default is a fresh server. Yeah.
Always, because here's the rub. You have to have a rollback plan when the upgrade doesn't go well. So here's the deal. If you're going to use the existing server and you're going to upgrade it, you have to image that thing and be prepared to roll it back if your upgrade blows up. And I would say, just based upon Jacob's experience and him, and half the time he's like, the upgrades work great, and half the time it lights it on fire. I would say you got a 50-50 chance of having an upgrade work on your server. That percentage goes down to zero the farther away.
Three guesses how I discovered they removed the support for PHP and CWP from 19.5.
Yeah, because you ran an update and it quit working.
Yep, and it destroyed it. And they're like, I can't get it to work. And I went in there and I looked at it and I was like, I can't get it to work. And I found the right document on the engineering blog because they didn't document it in the changelog.
So you're going to build a new server. You have an old server, you're going to build a new server, you're going to move your files over, you're going to do testing, especially if you're doing all your cardiac stuff at Oregon Dean, all that stuff, important stuff. If your business is not important, if it's a nonprofit and no one's going to die, or cute little cuddly rescue animals aren't going to be exterminated with gas or something because your database crashes, then don't worry about it, just blow it up. But most customers we have don't want to blow up their FileMaker server, and having a rollback as a pain, better just to build the server. Now, people get more sensitive about that when they have a M1 Mac Mini, like Mark was one of the first people to have it, and Mark Johnson gets another one. And he says, well, I don't want to buy another M1 Mac Mini for the new server. What I would tell Mark, if he could do, is I'd get the new Mac Mini, even if it's M1 again, build a new server. After you flip over to the new server and the server's done, with Amazon, you just tell it to shut it down, it's gone. Your old machine, format it, give it to someone else in your organization or someone, and reuse the machine. But I think you're better off just building a new box because it removes a lot of problems. It's like, I haven't talked to anyone who's lost their on this hurricane thing, Ian, in Florida, but I guarantee there's some people there who had FileMaker on their local computers, and their FileMaker machine now is in 8 feet of salt water, not regular fresh water, but salt water, which is horrific. And so there's people who lost their because they don't listen to us in terms of the backups. I know, I'm waiting for the horror story to come out. It's going to happen.
Every time there's a mega storm, sometimes they don't tell us immediately, but we end up hearing a story that one of our customers basically, and the ones that listen to us, it's a in air quotes, it's a good story in that the business went down. They had the horrific issues caused by the storm. They had offsite backups.
Yeah, that happened with one in
They
Texas.
were down because of the storm, and then they went back up again.
They were in Houston, and Houston got all this water, and the water went right through the building and destroyed operationally a lot of their stuff, but they didn't have to worry about FileMaker because FileMaker was protected. So a lot to be said for having that. And all of you are professionals there. Every one of you, I think, is a professional. But here's the thing. If we don't have this question, I'm going to get 28 calls from people about what's Claris platform and should I use it?
Mm-hmm.
Should you use it is simply based upon that chart of what's supported and what's not. So this is the list here of things that are not supported. If this list does not cause you problems, and if you don't know if it caused you problems or not, call a qualified professional FileMaker consultant, right? You can send an email to support@rcconsulting.com. Oregon Dean says further FMS is moving from CentOS to Ubuntu, so that's a new instance by default for the migration. Yeah, if you're still in a CentOS one, yeah.
It's like 19.1, maybe 19.2.
Yeah, somewhere there they jumped to Ubuntu, and then they had to jump to
newer Ubuntu
18.04. And then they did. No, are they on 20.04? No, they're not on 20.04.
They are 20.04. Yeah,
they are. They were 18.04. Now they're 20.04.
They're doing both because they're very smart people. 20.04 is where the work is going in, and that's where the new stuff is happening. I don't actually know if they're committed to supporting 18.04 on an ongoing basis. I'd have to check if it's available for FileMaker Server 19.5. Definitely up to 19.4 though. So
24 no is not listed in the docs yet. I thought they were 18.04, not 20.04 yet on the. Okay.
No, I'm only deploying 20.04s and have been. We had 1.18
There's this one link right here Mark is going to give out, right? And this is the operating system requirements for FileMaker Pro, but we need more than just Pro. We need like server. So
yeah, but this is 19.0 to 19.3, which it says on the top of the page, and that's why it links you to 19.4 because they changed then. Yeah, I'm just clarifying on the page title because they're now the right side version specification is not accurate because they're changing OS support and point releases now. Well, they did it before, but it's fast and loud now. So
yeah, 18.04. It is 20.04 right there. So 19. So 19. Okay, so 19.4 was either one, and 19.5 is 20.04 only, according to this.
Yep. I just didn't want to commit to it because I wasn't certain my memory was correct, but yeah, that's what I believe. So
And then,
Oh, you've got it up. Nice. Perfect.
yeah, I got it up. And then they're saying is that there is support for 2004 desktop.
No, so remember this was the entire conversation about the Claris server requiring a desktop environment. What
Yeah.
that means is FileMaker Server will also install on an Ubuntu that is configured as a desktop machine, basically. That is useful if you are doing an Ubuntu machine in your office, i.e. using on-prem FileMaker Server Linux build.
Okay, Clara says they haven't tested it though on that, so your mileage may vary, as they say in the business.
Yeah, that's where we're at now. So it's if you're doing FileMaker Server 19.4, 19.5, which should be your choice currently. 19.4 if you're nervous about the breakage, and 19.5 is the short version, basically.
Yeah, I think 19.5 is mostly good, but I'd make sure you have 19.5.4. I think,
or whatever. Yeah, very latest patch. They, I posted a screenshot internally of Wim Decor calling.
Oh, that's right. He called
what,
evil or evil.
He called it evil. Yeah.
Wim is not big on saying things like that. He's very G-rated.
No, I took it as a loud statement.
Loud statement. Yeah.
He's usually pretty diplomatic, and he'll complain about very specific issues and stuff like that. But you have Pro open. It's complaining at you.
It's running a file is what I'm doing. I got to close the. There we go. And then what happens is that you put this in,
and it'll crash.
Then on my computers it crashes. Every last computer crashes I have, and it's because everything, because I use the 360 plugins, and so Claris doesn't actually test their updates to work with plugins, with memory constraints and problems, and so it just crashes. So this will sit for about an hour and then literally explode. FileMaker will force quit, and yeah.
Okay, so we have a question from YouTube from Michelle Gravel. Our application recently migrated to a Linux Ubuntu server from Windows. We are now experiencing weekly crashes. Is Linux the culprit?
No. FileMaker Server on Linux is the culprit. It's one of the reasons I don't recommend it.
Okay, back. Go backwards. Go back. I think that was okay. Can you repeat her question? I want to hear this.
That's my gut answer. Sorry.
Repeat the question.
Our application recently migrated to a Linux Ubuntu server from my Windows one. We are now experiencing weekly crashes. Is Linux
crashes on the server? Crashes on the server? Confirm crashes on the server?
That's from YouTube, so it'll take them 90 seconds to confirm that.
Okay.
I assume yes.
In all fairness, I guess I could update the slideshow here a little bit. Let me try to do this. Let me see if I can do this. I'm gonna update this. Nope. Limitations. I get. Whoop. Duplicate it. I could say server stability on Linux. Server stability on. So Jacob, do you have any comment on the server stability on Linux right now? Because Linux is pretty good, right?
Linux is great. I use Linux for my own personal computers, and I have for a decade. Operating system. So if FileMaker Server is what's going down, then I've just said what the problem is. Unless the server itself is like kernel panicking, and then that's a Linux problem. Your tech people will be able to tell you if that is the case or not, but it probably is not, to be honest. There have been lots of crasher bugs in FileMaker Server on Linux. Famously, one of them was a send via SMTP would lock the server up, for example. That's resolved recently, but again, only recently.
So let's talk about this a little bit. Dorgan asked a really great question, something that's
a good one, yeah.
That's a really good question. So let me back up. So let's talk about the sequence here. So these products in white here match the products that are in white over here. This product, FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Go, FileMaker Server, and I'd say FileMaker, Claris or FileMaker, the one. WebDirect is, we listed here, but it's really part of the server product. The data API is really part of the server product. So really these, it's on a thing. Yeah, these two items here belong in there. But these are things you can install locally, okay? Claris Cloud Server or FileMaker Cloud Server is their AWS server that they set up for you if you pay extra for that, okay? Claris Studio and Claris Connect are also cloud services right now. I'm going to say that again. Claris Cloud Server, Claris Studio, Claris Connect are 3 cloud services only available in the cloud right now. If you want to install Claris Cloud Server in your office, that's actually called FileMaker Server, Claris Server. So there's a on-prem version and a cloud version. There's no on-prem version yet of Claris Studio and Claris Connect. I would not expect one anytime in the near future because they've got to get Claris Studio to the point where someone like me wants to use it. Because once again, I don't want to have not safe for work pictures posted to my database by a robot. Okay. I've actually been there and had that happen. It really was embarrassing to call a customer. We apologize for the misbehavior of our team and our product, and we will work better to respect your personal whatever, right? You can see that apology. Not a lot of fun. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
It's that early of a product. They don't have bot protection and stuff like that. They'll figure it out, I'm sure. But
oh, I'm sure.
Today?
Today, no.
Like, for example, our so we show that homepage on the homepage of FM Training TV with our events that are coming up and the sign up that didn't used to have bot protection on it. If you go into that database,
so right here, and the first thing it says, it shouldn't say this. This is Jacob's little thing where he's timing.
Oh, I should turn that off.
Turn that off. And you say, I'm not a robot. Now it's going to say, please solve the Pythagorean Theorem. You're like, a squared plus b squared equals c squared and Florida, verify. I'm not a robot. And then now you're in here and you could submit a picture. But it's assuming that I'm a real human. I think January is going to be a big event. They're really talking like a big upgrade to the whole thing by that time. Mm-hmm. And that would be really big. And then
I'm interested in what they've talked about for that time frame. They're
they're talking about living a lot of stuff. So it's not really negative. Yeah. It's just like if you want to use it today,
it's not now. Yeah.
It's not now. We're talking about January, not now, right? Yep. So if I get rid of this stuff, they got to nuke a lot of these issues out of here. The server stability, I guess. You know, it's one reason why you hate seeing Windows, because Windows go away because it's working pretty good on Windows. No offline access, that's a showstopper. Active Directory OAuth, I absolutely can't use it without that, so I won't convert until they add that. But they're acting like a couple of these will be working for January. And then Freemium comes in there somewhere. They haven't alerted the developer community to it yet, which simply means that it probably won't be coming out within the next 24 hours. So, so at some point we get Freemium too, probably before the end of the year, maybe, but yeah. So,
which is App Store Pro, basically free App Store Pro.
But is freemium still vague in specs? I would say everything with freemium is negotiable, but they've consistently talked about when you get freemium, you're going to get Pro, Go, and Claris Studio. And so Claris Studio,
kind
Pro, Go,
micro developer license or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not going to get. I mean, in an ideal world, they would give you a Claris cloud server, and you could park up to 2 or 3 files for yourself or 1 file for yourself and share it just with yourself with your credential. Yeah, businesses are in the businesses are in runtime. Okay, David, can you explain that? Because runtimes are totally gone, right? The only runtime, there was a whole business, and I'll just address this real quick, and then we're out of time. If anyone has any other relevant questions, Margaret, you can do a last scan on relevant questions. You build a FileMaker solution in Pro, FMP12 file, and then you would use a runtime to kick it out. And so you could give people an application and the FMP12 file in one folder, and they could run it, and it's a single standalone thing. Claris never made any money on that. They did a big survey, and while I'm kind of sometimes critical about Claris, clearly they are right about a vast majority of things. Clearly, the runtime thing was never a moneymaker for them because the runtime people say, the people buy the runtime and they're going to upgrade to full FileMaker. Claris did surveys on that. They found that happened very, very little. They were putting a lot of money into runtimes, a lot of R&D and engineering, and they weren't getting anything out of it, right? So in 2019, they cut the runtimes out, right? And so you can't do runtimes as of 2019, as of FileMaker 19, which was about 2019 when it came out, right? I think pretty close. And so there's still people who try to do that. So everyone says, hey, it's going to be freemium. I can sell my product with this. Well, you kind of think, but to download the freemium, you have to go to Claris's website or the Apple Store or Microsoft Store or some store and sign up and download freemium. Then you have to turn on the Claris ID authentication, which means you have to sign up with Claris. So they're going to get you, or normally say, I can do Apple App Store anonymously, except it won't work unless you sign up for Claris ID. So it has a mandatory sign up thing in it where Claris gets your stuff. So Claris is going to get your information. They're going to market to you. You're getting free stuff. They should be able to market to you. I'm totally good with that. But it can't be a branded product like Ruben's Frog Emporium. So Ruben sells stuffed frogs, Frog Emporium, Ruben's Frog Emporium. He builds a little app, he sells it. He wants to sell the .claris file, right? The .claris file, which was a .fmp12 file. He can distribute the .claris file, but you have to have at least freemium to run it, which means someone had to go to the website, download it, sign up, jump through the hurdles in there. Hopefully the hurdles are pretty easy. Crossing our fingers, right, on that. And so it's kind of like not a very smooth process, right? And so if you want to have it branded and control it, you have to do an SBA, Solution Bundle Agreement Program, where you make the Frog Emporium file yourself. You submit to Claris, they review it. They say, yeah, it looks pretty good. It's kind of green. We'll get over that. It's got frogs in it, whatever. It's not our thing, but as long as Ruben's cool with frogs, it's good. And they approve it. So then Ruben sells Pro, Go, or Server. They don't sell Go, but they sell Pro or Server. And you buy a pack of this stuff, and you like 100 of them, and then you sell access to your customers. So the customer doesn't see anything except that they do an installer and you already have the Pro or the server set up and running for them. It's not going to be a deal where they can just download the Claris file and it magically works because there's a runtime. The runtime is very disconnected. It's called freemium and it's got a lot of pro marketing stuff in there. I don't know what Claris is going to do. They could fire up the freemium. It could be like one of these apps where you're like on if I go to like pick a website like a CNET or something like that. If I go to CNET, we go to CNET, right? We're on CNET. Here you are on CNET. You're sitting here. You're doing stuff. And then, out of the blue, we're gonna like look at wellness over here. Oh, and then suddenly you saw it right there at the top. There it was. You're sitting along here using FileMaker. You're down here at the bottom, and suddenly you get an ad at the top, right? Hey, you're using FileMaker Claris Freemium. This is bad. Wouldn't you like to know more? Click here, right? So I don't know what they're gonna do. They could put ads in it. They can do all sorts of stuff, but it's free. They gave it to you. They get to do what they want. I agree with that. I think it's great. They shouldn't ideally make it obnoxious. Otherwise, I have to have a live stream just explain to people to disregard the messages, right? I mean, there's a lot to know, a little bit of speculation. We have a pretty good idea what's coming. The exact execution of freemium is up in the air, but they haven't run it by me. They haven't asked my opinion. I would not build a business model on freemium yet. Yeah, no. But we're back to
Not
this.
Until it's out. Don't even think about it.
Just keep in mind that they can change it too. Yeah, what the constraints are. I mean, but I think it'll be, the idea for Claris is that they really need to use it as a giant. It's like, it's so awesome. You're going to have high return of value on it, investment, and you're going to want to buy this thing. Awesome. How do they do that? So all you folks have a good weekend. I'm glad you're here. If you have questions, we're all in this together. The product's going to get better. It's just that kind of awkward pregnancy moment where you're 9 months pregnant, your wife is really uncomfortable and you can't make her feel better, and so you're just stuck orbiting, waiting for the next thing to happen, right? That's where we're at. We're at like 8 months pregnant and things are getting, kind of awkward. So, but if I was a competitor to Claris right now and I was like Airtable, I would be concerned. I mean, Claris is trying not to booger up the launch, but at the end of the day, they've got enough really good here that's coming that I would not want to be competing with them, especially if you're one of these companies that's never turned a profit. I would not want to be competing with Claris. Claris is going to eat their lunch. I believe that. I just think that we are going to have to suffer to get there is the thing. All right, Lynn, thank you, folks. Thank you for coming, everyone. Mike, Mark, Lynn, Labo404, Jonathan, Kadidi, Fox, Drew, David Angel, Scott Kane, Ruben, Oregon. You guys are all awesome. Michelle Gravel and anyone else? Margaret, you there?
Yep, I'm here. I think we are good. Dave White, okay. WJ Warner.
Yeah, awesome. You guys are awesome. And then Calvin will be back with the Nick's Kryptonite on Monday. So Nick's Kryptonite is Monday. Yeah, we got to make a graphic for that. All right, see ya later. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.